watched Nintendo, man, my thumbs were always sore. We stayed up past midnight, beating every score. Now I'm almost 21, playing evermore.
Okay, well, welcome to Beaveman and the Doc. I am the Beaveman.
I'm still the Doc.
He's still the Doc. And guess what? This is our first remote podcast. We're trying this out to see if it works because I got to do some traveling soon. And if I travel, obviously, the Doc is not going to fly to my location to do the podcast. I mean, you're not going to fly.
That would be a little expensive.
Yeah, I didn't think you were actually planning on doing that. I mean, the possibility exists, certainly, but did you become independently wealthy?
Yeah, if I win the lotto, sure.
Do you actually play the lotto?
Once or twice a year, maybe.
Oh, okay. So you're not one of those people who thinks that they're going to win?
No.
You don't sit around and fantasize about what you would do if you won?
Oh, well, sometimes.
Yeah? Okay. I mean, I think probably everybody does that. But, of course, you actually have to play to win. That's one of those things, and I don't play.
I fantasize about what I would do if I had the opportunity to hook up with some hot actress, too. But, I know that's never going to happen. So.
If you apply yourself to your craft, the possibility exists. The possibility exists. I'm just not saying it's going to happen, but the possibility does exist. So I had something funny.
It's all fun and games till someone loses an eye.
Right. Well, that might not be a bad way to lose an eye, though. I mean, if I had to think about it. So I was going to tell you, I drive by this billboard every day back and forth, when I come home from work, and I keep laughing every time I see it. I keep meaning to ask you about it if you've seen it, and I just keep forgetting. It's this billboard. I don't even know what the billboard's about. I honestly don't know what the advertisement is. But it's like this big billboard. It's got like a white background. Looks like it's got a white wall in it. And there's this little child who's got his back against the wall. Okay, and he's smiling, and he's giggling, and he's got like his head turned away. And then standing above him, bending down to kiss him on the head, is, I'm assuming it's like his mother. Or his aunt, or his grandma, or whatever. Okay, I don't know what the billboard is for, but here's the funny part about it, okay? The person who's bending down to kiss him she's pretty big. Obese. All right. She's a big woman, and she's got some big breastises, okay? And those breastises are pointed right at this little kid's face, right? I mean, just like jutting torpedoes towards his face as she's bending down to kiss him on the head. And it looks like to me that he's trying to get away, but he's like smushed, like against the back of this wall.
Say maybe that's why he's smiling.
Well, I hope if he is smiling, I hope that is not his mother or his aunt or his grandmother. But I'm like, every day I come home and I drive by that, I'm just laughing my head off, and I don't know what that billboard is for. I never bothered to look at the advertisement. I don't know what it is. It just makes me laugh because I'm like, this kid is trying to get away. He's getting smushed by these giant torpedo boobs that are coming at his head. Did you ever have people always talk about how they've got that aunt who's got the sloppy wet kisses or whatever. Did you have one of those?
Ugh. My grandmother used to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't have anybody in my family like that.
Well, it wasn't necessarily like a sloppy wet kisses, but she had a beard that's thicker than mine. It was weird to me at the time. And so, yeah, it was kind of messed with my head. It's like, that doesn't belong there, you know what I mean?
Now, have you ever, your kids are just a couple of years younger than mine. One of them is, anyway. The other one, is he about the same age? D is about the same age as Summer?
He's 15.
Okay, so he's 3 years older there, and, let's see, your oldest is just like a year younger than my oldest. So did they watch VeggieTales when they were kids? Do you remember that?
I don't remember VeggieTales. I remember like Goosebumps and Dexter's Lab. Yeah, that was one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, Dexter's Lab was awesome. Dexter was awesome. But no, VeggieTales. So VeggieTales was a Christian cartoon series, like an animated series about these vegetables that talked, and it was actually pretty good. My brother and sister-in-law turned my son onto it when he was little, and they liked it. But there's this character who's called Larry the Cucumber, and he sings a song. He sings these songs. They call them silly songs with Larry. But one of the songs that he sings says something about how she had a beard and it felt weird. Oosta. So that reminds me of what you were saying. He's like, she had a beard and it felt weird. Oosta. It was the Lips song. So if you get a chance, yes, YouTube the Lips song by Larry the Cucumber. That should relate to our conversation there. But I laugh at that billboard. I guess I'm gonna have to drive by it now just to see what the advertisement even is. But you'll have to check it out. It's like on on Dickman. If you're heading, I guess you would be heading west, kind of out by where that like little golf course used to be.
And it doesn't have any words on it or anything.
Oh, it does, but it does, but I haven't paid attention, so that's why I don't know what it's for. You know, you only have such a certain amount. You have a finite amount of time to look at something, and when I look at it, even though I've seen it now, you know, however many times I've worked at that particular location, I've seen it so many times. You think this once.
And your mind goes directly to the boobs, right?
My mind goes directly to, I feel like this child is being oppressed in a way, and he's trying to get away, and he's getting smushed. It's not going to the boobs as a source of enjoyment or pleasure on my end. It's just me laughing, going, this poor kid's trying to get away, and you're squashing him.
It's a source of suffocation instead of sustenance.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost you're like, jab, kid, jab, and duck and move, jab. That's what it's kind of like for me.
A couple of speed bags.
Yeah, literally, it's a couple of those, but you know, the firmness, you're not sure how much of that is bra. So if you tried to speed back it, it's probably not going to rebound back. That sort of thing that you're worried about, I guess. But I was laughing about it. I just wanted to point that out to you because I thought it was funny. So we are now into the new year. So this is actually our first episode of the new year, right?
It is.
It is the first episode. Did you make any?
January 4th.
Did you make any New Year's resolutions?
No, I quit doing that a long time ago.
Yeah, I said I quit doing that a long time ago too, but then some sort of things just kind of inkle into my head a little bit. But I think that happens throughout the year where I'm always saying I'm going to do this, and it's one of those things that I try to look forward to doing, but it doesn't really have anything to do with the new year. But this year I did kind of revamp the goal for the new year, and it's not a goal for the year, it's a goal for life. Yeah,
actually, I decided I am going to start drinking heavily.
Is that what you decided to do?
Wait. I decided I'm not going to drink heavily.
Oh, you decided you're not going to, okay. Well, I mean, some people might make that decision that they are going to drink heavily. I actually knew someone who is very close to me, who actually says that she had less time with her weight gain when she drank more. So she's thinking maybe she should start drinking heavily again.
Yeah. I felt like I was healthier when I drank more, but I never really drank heavily.
Well, I feel like that it's a kind of it's hard to make that determination because the main thing that changes over time is not necessarily what we do, but the main thing that changes over time is that we age. That's the main thing that changes.
And our body's going to react differently to the same actions later on.
Yep. So it's not like we are just freezing ourselves in time and saying, oh, I was healthier when I did this. No, you were healthier most likely because at that point in time you were younger and your body was younger.
Well, you always hear those stories about how the people who have lived to be over 100 years old and whatnot, they say, oh yeah, I have wine with every meal, or I drink vodka every day, or a lot of times they have some kind of vice that keeps them going.
Right, but it's dependent and the reason why it's dependent is these are individuals. It's not like you're hearing about entire populations of people that do that all the time. It's just individual people. When you hear stories about people like, oh, I eat a half a pound of bacon every morning and drink coffee and have 6 eggs and I drink every evening and that person lived to 105. Yeah, that's one person out of 2 million people that might happen with. That's not the norm. So
Half a pound of bacon, huh?
well, half a pound.
That
of bacon
actually
would be
sounds
nice.
good.
Half a pound of bacon. We made bacon last night, and I was tempted to eat it raw because it just seems like a good idea to me. That really wouldn't be too bad, in my opinion. Although, honestly, I guess talking about bacon, going off on another tangent, you know how much I love bacon. And if I told you about my love for bacon, how much I love bacon,
Would it be creepy if you went into detail?
it's not creepy if I go into detail about how much I love bacon. I'm just saying that I
Okay.
love bacon. I love bacon. When I buy, thankfully, when the Swan buys bacon, she doesn't just go buy bacon. She buys more than one type of bacon. So I mean that's wonderful. That's fantastic. And now over the years now we've been buying deli bacon because the bacon that you buy that's already wrapped out in the general aisles is actually just as expensive as buying the deli bacon that's usually thicker cut. So I prefer the deli bacon, and you can get different varieties. Like we had last night, we had applewood bacon, and it
I
was
like them when they're crisp but not burnt.
okay. So you're one of them.
Yeah.
Well, that's good though because you know it. And then when you talk to people about bacon, and people who love bacon, let me just say, will tell you how they like their bacon, what kind of bacon they like, et cetera, because people become these bacon connoisseurs. When I run into someone who doesn't like bacon, I am less likely to trust them.
Yeah. What kind of monster are they?
What? It is not American, by God. If you come from another country to the United States and you profess a love for bacon, I am likely to trust you. Let me just say that. Some of the most evil people in the world, I would suspect, did not love bacon.
Well,
I bet
isn't it against the rules for like Muslims to eat bacon?
Well, now, if you're talking for religious purposes, I don't blame them for that. I don't. Because I have met people who do not eat pork for religious reasons, but will tell you how wonderful bacon smells. Same thing with vegetarians. I've talked to a few vegetarians in the past, and you ask them what they miss the most, or
And they say bacon.
they'll say bacon.
My daughter, she used to be a vegetarian and used to make her sneer at me when I'd say my food poops on your food.
Right, exactly. And really, there's a couple of there's a good videos, some videos out there this guy does on YouTube where basically he's acting like a vegetarian, but he eats meat. So he makes all these comments that the vegetarians make to us, but in reverse, based on eating meat. It's pretty funny.
Oh yeah. He's kind of skinny. He's
Yeah.
got reddish hair and a beard.
He kind of has like this hippie-ish kind of look to him, and he'll wear like a headband and stuff. Yeah, that guy's funny. I don't know who he is, but he's pretty funny. I don't know if he might even be an actual comedian. I don't know. He's pretty funny though.
It's possible.
Yeah. But anyway, I profess my love for bacon. Have you ever had water chestnuts?
I have.
Now, did you have them? What's your opinion of the water chestnut?
Almost no flavor, really. I mean, they've got an awkward texture.
Yeah, the texture is bizarre.
I don't dislike them, but there's really nothing about them that would make me say, "Oh man, let's get some water chestnuts." That's not happening.
No, it has that starchy texture to it. Much like if we took our American our potato and cut it up and then didn't cook it or cooked it just for a minute or so and then bit into it. That's what a water chestnut seems like to me. So it's obviously I would suspect it's a highly starchy vegetable, but it has that weird consistency.
Would make sense.
So I don't like them. I'm not a fan. I remember that they used to always have that. Did you ever have that like La Choy chop suey when you were a kid that came in a giant can?
Yep.
Like
I remember those.
Had to have been like the 70s when everybody was big on making that Chinese it had the hard egg noodles at home and shit.
Oh, or the late 70s, early 80s when microwaves started becoming a thing.
Right, I think that's it's kind of around the time. I can remember my parents making that shit all the time, and I think that was my first exposure to the water chestnut. Disgusting. Anyway, the point is, I will eat a water chestnut if has bacon wrapped around it, because then it's good.
Yeah, I think I've had that. Oh, we get like crab legs, and we'd wrap a piece of bacon around it, and then fry it.
Oh yeah, there you go.
That's real good too.
Well, last night we had scallops, and we wrapped the scallops in bacon. And then, and then the Swan took butter, also Professor Love it. But now that's my problem. See, I'll get to that. But so we took butter and maple syrup, Michigan maple syrup, melted that together, and then we melted that together, and we put. She basically dipped the scallops in bacon and the maple syrup and butter, and then she pan-seared them. And that was pretty delicious.
Yeah. I don't know. I like maple syrup on pancakes. That's about it.
Yeah, did you have a lot of maple syrup growing up?
Yeah, I think I did, but we had pancakes often, too.
Okay, so in my home,
my wife, when she makes pancakes now, I don't put syrup on them because she'll take either a piece of sausage and bake it into the middle of the pancake, or she'll take and she'll put chocolate chips in the pancake, so they're sweetened already. It's like eating a big chocolate chip cookie, and those are good just as they are.
That sausage idea is pretty good. I bet I could do that with bacon.
Oh, I'm sure you could.
Oh, that's a good idea. I might try that tomorrow.
Well, let me know how it goes.
Yeah, it's kind of a good idea.
Are we having bacon at your place?
Right. I just have to go get more bacon. So anyway, so the boy got a waffle maker for Christmas. That's actually been pretty good. He's cooked up a couple waffles for us. It's a Pokemon waffle maker. So the waffles come out as Pokeballs.
Pokeballs?
Yeah, which is entertaining. You know, flat. They're flat, obviously, the flat waffles, but they have the imprint of it looks like a two-dimensional Pokeball as a waffle. They're pretty tasty. They're pretty good. So maybe some waffles tomorrow then, and some butter. So here's my problem. So getting back to the whole New Year's thing.
User in your channel started recording.
What was that? Oh, you started recording. Okay.
Oh yeah, I was experimenting. I didn't think you'd notice.
Oh no, it announced it on the iPad. So for our listeners, yes, because we're playing with stuff here. You might hear some weird sounds or some weird stuff. We're using an app. I don't know. Am I allowed to say what app we're using? I don't know. As usual,
you can call it an app.
As usual, I'm using GarageBand to do the podcast, as many podcasters do, and then we're using an app that Doc's using remotely that he uses as a gamer. Technically, right? You use it because you use it for gaming.
Yeah, there's an element of control and hosting my own server, so I can control who comes in and who comes out, things like that.
Plus, when they get into the very intense Dungeons and Dragons games where they have to have their hands free to roll dice simultaneously, that might be helpful, right?
Yeah, I suppose, but more than likely, what I've used this for in the past is like while playing EverQuest or World of Warcraft.
Okay, gotcha.
Being able to talk to people while my fingers are busy making my character move where it needs to go.
Gotcha. Okay, so actually, really, if you look at it, then that's probably less expensive than. Well, no, you would still have to do something because I look at some of our friends that we grew up with. They had said one time that, hey, because we don't see each other all the time, why don't we all play like a war game together online? And
yeah,
I can imagine that. But I was like, okay, well, maybe. They're talking about like, I can't remember the big one. It was like, I don't know. Anyway, it was a Modern Warfare type one, and I said, okay, sure. Well, what they didn't mention to me was that you have to, because it was Xbox. They're like, okay, well, we'll do Xbox. I'm like, all right. So I go out buy the game, and then I get online. I put it on. I'm like, okay, well, how do you get online with it? And then they're like, oh, you got to buy a subscription. And I was like, well, fuck that. I'm like I just went and bought.
I don't like the online, the other versions of this, because like people who host the servers, they'll do that. They'll want you to pay a subscription, and if it's free, they'll throw advertisements at you, or give you proper controls. So I found it easier to just host my own, and so I have a server that's online all the time, and it's not costing me anything extra to use. And according to this, the limit is 32 people we can have in here.
So, well, the other thing is, if you wanted to play something, though, like with your friends online, are you able to enter into the same game to each other? Or are you talking about games that you play on the computer, but not like on a gaming system like the PS4 or something like that?
On the computer, the PS4, like I said, I can get the same app on my phone, and I can use it there. At that point, it becomes similar to like Skype.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure. I was just imagining if I had ended up doing that anyway, it probably would have been 10 minutes of me not knowing what I was doing, and then when I finally got some sort of a hang of it, if nobody was killing me every 5 seconds, it would be me saying, okay, now I'm nauseous, and I'm done. That's about the extent of my video gaming. Although we did get a basketball game. I thought that might be fun to play with Summer, my daughter, and we actually played that yesterday, and I didn't get nauseous, which was interesting. It was kind of fun. But usually I do. So anyway, so my whole New Year's resolution thing, it's not really a resolution, was I just said, hey, I really need to step it up a bit on the guitar playing. I've been playing guitar probably since, I would say, a year before my son was born. So it's probably been 21, 22 years ago that I got my first guitar and played it. And I did have to hock it, and so I didn't have a guitar for a while. And then I got another one, and then so I sporadically play. So this year is it. This is it, Doc. If I don't actually start playing the guitar this year, I'm getting rid of all my guitars. So I've decided that I'm going to play the guitar at least 3 times a week. That's
good hobby.
Yeah, because even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, I will literally go 3 months without picking up my guitar. And then I look at my guitar and I am just, why do I have it? 1, I get frustrated when I play it because I don't play it all the time, so I suck. 2, the one guitar that I have, both of them are, I have pretty nice guitars. I didn't spend a shitload of money. The one I always wanted an American-made Fender, which are, as we know, are more expensive than getting the ones that are made in China or Mexico, or even Mexico ones now are hard to get. They're actually more expensive than the China ones.
I have an old Alvarez in the other room.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so I went ahead and bought one of those for my birthday one year, and I think I paid, I don't know. It was to me, it was a lot of money. I mean, my people will probably listen to this and say, that's not a lot of money, Beaveman. It was over I think it was over $1,000. I think my brother paid like $3,000 for his or something shitty like that. I was like, what? Anyway.
Damn.
Yeah, and then I have a nice acoustic that was a guitar company that was a merger of 2 companies here, Michigan-based companies. It was a little guitar company that was in Pawpaw, and it went out of business, and I got one of their last guitars that they had issued. It's called the Jalkanen, and it's a really good acoustic guitar. And I've only met one other person that has it, but still, I've got these 2 really decent guitars, but I suck. So I honestly can't justify having them because I'm terrible. So this is my year. If I don't actually consistently play the guitar and actually make some sort of progress, because I should have some progress after all these years of quotes saying that I play the guitar, although I don't tell people I play. I say I play badly. Then I'm done.
I don't know. I'd keep one. At least keep one guitar, because you never know when, you might get hit with a bit of inspiration and decide, you know what, I want to play. Or you hear a song that just makes you want to try it. It's like, I think I can do that. You know what I mean? You're going to wind up missing out. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, yeah, I guess it gets frustrating. But I think that I'm the type of person that needs to give myself a goal, or I will just not do it. That's just how I am. What the other thing I was considering, and this has nothing to do with the new year, it just has to do with general overall health, is I've really basically gotten rid of dairy in my diet. But this year...
Oh, no, I couldn't do that.
This year I've decided to myself that I'm going to be more selective on the dairy, and I mean, I've got rid of milk. I really rarely eat yogurt. I rarely eat ice cream. My big thing is it's hard... When I specifically talk about dairy, in my mind now I'm talking about cheese. I really like cheese. And I really like butter. So those are the two things that I'm like, I think I could eliminate the cheese.
I discovered in ice cream, early last year. I shouldn't say I discovered it. My wife introduced it to me.
Like, this ice cream was growing in the wild. Picture it, if you will, Doc, wading through the jungles of Panama. He comes upon a clearing, and in that clearing, a little known, never seen before, only locally, an ice cream.
It reminds me of an old episode of Ren and Stimpy.
Which one were you drinking the fat?
We are looking at the rare and wonderful Krakow Stimpy.
So what's this ice cream? Is it dairy? Is it dairy ice cream?
I guess so. But
well, okay, I was wondering.
It's called Drumstick.
Okay.
And it's like the old drumstick.
Sure, yeah.
Cones that you used to get from the ice cream man.
Still crave
down
those.
The street,
I'd still crave those. I think I still kind of want them when I walk by them at. You commonly see them like at the gas stations. Yeah. So what are you talking? So when I eat ice cream, this is sad. This is when I eat ice cream now. I go to get ice cream that is made out of coconut milk.
Yeah, but is that really milk?
Well, it's coconut milk. It is the milk of the coconut. Milk doesn't mean it's from a cow. What do you call milk from a human? What's milk from a human called?
Milk.
What's milk from a goat called?
Milk.
Okay. So the secretions or the pressings from the coconut is called milk. What do you could call? I guess you could call it. Well, you can't call it coconut water because coconut water is different. I mean, obviously nobody's sitting there milking.
Juice.
Nobody's like grabbing the teats of a coconut and expressing milk out of them.
When you're yanking on the teats of a living mammal, then it's milk. If you're getting juice or whatever out of a fruit or whatever, then it's juice. I mean, when you squeeze an orange, do they call it orange milk?
Yes.
No.
I would suspect. Here's what I suspect. I suspect that you are correct. I see what you're saying personally. But I think that they do it based off of, one, what's going to sell better, and two, what does it look like? It looks like milk. But if you look at...
There is no coconut titty.
If it has tits, you can milk it. Anyway, if it has nipples, you can milk it. You're right, it doesn't have that. But, yeah, you can really get into some weird shit about it, because if you look at good favorite drink of mine, I don't drink it hardly ever, because it's way too fattening, is horchata, right? You know.
I'm not sure I've heard of that.
You've never heard of horchata? Oh, okay. So, if you're lucky, you can go to a Mexican restaurant. Sometimes that'll be on the menu, and horchata is rice water. So it's this thin white water, and I don't know how they make it. I assume they bathe the rice in it, whatever. And it's super creamy, delicious. It's not thick like milk is. It's thin. It's because it's watery. So why don't they call that rice milk? Well, rice milk is something completely different, or very very remotely different. Anyway, so yes, I would say that personally, if I was going to say it's something, then yeah, you could say it's juice or you could say it's water or whatever. But they call it milk, I'm assuming, for marketing purposes. Anyway, the point is, you're right. Okay, I'm going to agree with you. Almond milk, I guess, is not milk. I don't know.
Mark your calendar.
What, that I agreed? But if you remember from Gilligan's Island, well, okay, let's go back to Gilligan's Island, though. When they were always drinking the Coke from the coconuts, what did they call it?
Yeah, it's a common thing. I get it, but I still like to criticize the world for using inconsistent terms like, milk in a coconut or almonds or soy milk. I mean, they call it milk because it's meant to be a substitute for milk on the dinner table, but in reality, it's not milk. It's like the difference between, how do you tell the difference between a vegetable and a fruit? What defines which is which?
How it's grown.
How it's grown?
Yeah.
Okay, explain.
Well, it gets really difficult because I can't explain it either. Because okay, so if it's grown, if it's from a tree, it's supposed to be a fruit. If it's from a vine, it's still supposed to be a fruit. Isn't that how it goes?
Well,
and if it grows
fruit
from
or vegetable, people will argue that one.
Well, but don't tomatoes grow from a vine though? I mean, that's technically a vine that they're growing from. I don't know. It gets really weird. Well, olives are fruits, but nobody thinks of an olive.
Yeah, and that's not a tree.
And that's
they
not
grow
a tree.
On trees.
But nobody thinks of an olive as being a fruit. But it is.
Cucumber, vegetable or fruit?
Good question, because it grows on a vine, right? I think it's classified as a vegetable.
Yeah, it gets really convoluted, the rules on what defines. It's kind of like NASA and their definition of a planet. They can't make up their friggin' mind.
I think what they should classify it by is the amount of where does it fit on a scale of glucose? In other words,
so if it's sweet, it's fruit.
Well, even if it's not sweet, even if you put it on a scale of 0 to 100, kind of in respective of what they call the glycemic index, and where does it fall on that scale? Say if it falls below 25, well, probably even that would be too restrictive, or less, not as restrictive as it should be. If it falls below, let's say if it falls below 10 on the glycemic index, then it's a vegetable. If it's greater than that, then it's a fruit. There you go. Takes care of it.
I like that. That's a good idea. We should take over the world and put that into use right away.
Now, however, people are going to argue with me on that because things like blueberries, which are delicious in my opinion, like blueberries being from Michigan, I guess, I don't know, maybe it's a blueberry state, cherry state. Blueberries have a low glycemic index. I don't know, they might fall less than 10, so I guess people would have to say that blueberries are vegetables.
But they have a sweet taste to them.
Right. But they have a low glycemic index. Pretty crazy, huh? Yep. You want to confuse some diabetics, try explaining this one. You want to confuse normal people, try explaining all that stuff to them. Yeah, it's crazy. Well, look at a potato, right? Yeah, this is a tangent. All right, look at the potato, right? The potato.
Now, potato borders on, is it a vegetable or is it a seed?
Well, it's a root plant, right? So it's a root, so you could totally classify it as something completely different, right? Because we're not actually eating the product of the plant itself, we're eating what it came from. Right? We're actually eating the source from, like you said, like a seed. We're eating that source, we're eating the root itself. We're not eating the product of the plant.
The root of a plant, would that be...
That's the egg.
It would have to be a vegetable.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it has its own it has to have its own classification. But again, if I was to classify that by the glycemic index or by some sort of measurement of glucose, like we're talking about, then that's a fruit, by God, because that baby's got a lot of sugar in it. That will really jump up. That will jump up your blood sugar faster than most foods. Anyway, the point is, I was thinking about eliminating more dairy. Getting a little bit Really got to watch my weight, man. I haven't been able to. I've dropped the 5 pounds of the 10 that I gained, but I got 5 more to go, and it's been quite the struggle. Quite the struggle.
You know, I got sick about 6 months ago, and I was down to 220 pounds. I was doing really good. And I stepped on the scale this morning at 229. I was like, oh, shit.
You're like, so I had this deathly illness, and couldn't eat, and was shitting myself 24 hours a day. And I was like, I'm looking pretty good. I mean, I'm dropping some weight. I'm looking kind of green and stuff, but yeah, I'm slimming down nicely. So anyway, I think I talked about didn't I? I think I told you on one of our podcasts that I got this weird magazine from my sister-in-law, right?
Yeah.
I talked to you about that, right?
I think so.
Okay, so this magazine is crazy. Should I even say the name of the magazine? Nobody's gonna sue me. Nobody's gonna sue me, right? I don't think so.
Well, I don't know.
All right, so I won't say the name of it.
If we're saying something that they don't like, and word gets around to them that we're bashing them.
All right, so I'm gonna talk about this. I think you and I are gonna end up having like multiple conversations about this magazine and its contributions, and the other funny things that we talk about. I will say here's the deal, right? When you and I grew up, you're only a little bit older than me, not very much. I knew one gay person. How about you? Did you know any gay people in high school, middle school, anything like that?
Yeah, I knew a couple. Only back then I didn't know they were gay.
Okay, well, I knew one that I knew was gay. He was actually older than us. I think he was actually probably a year older than my brother, or 2 years older than my brother. So I'm going to say he was probably 5 or 6 years older than me. He was the cousin of one of my best friends, and just one of the sweetest people I've ever known my whole life. And we knew he was gay. He knew he was gay from a very young age. So he was actually the only experience I had knowing anybody who was gay. Unfortunately, subsequently, he did pass away from the AIDS virus. This was many years ago. So he was my only exposure to gay people before I joined the Army. So to me, I just naturally assumed there were very few gay people in the world. And being in the Army, of course, at that time, it was not the, I joined, it was not the don't ask, don't tell time period. It was before that. So if people were gay in the Army when I was there, you didn't know they were gay.
They had to hide it or they'd be gone.
Exactly. You would be discharged from the Army, or you would be subjected to hate crimes. They didn't call them hate crimes at the time, but it was not uncommon for people to find out if somebody was gay for them to get assaulted. I know that before I joined one of my units, I had come there and I had heard a story about someone who had been in the unit there, and this is when they instituted the don't ask, don't tell thing. And it came out that he was gay, and he got out because he got beat up pretty severely. And that stuff should never happen. I mean, that's just ridiculous. You don't like somebody's lifestyle, that's fine. You just don't pull that shit. But again, the people who did it didn't get into trouble, though. So a different time frame, different era. What perplexes me is there's a pursuit in science. We've always tried to figure things out, obviously. But there's a difference between what is the pursuit, what is your agenda for the pursuit? That's my question. If you want to find something out,
if your agenda isn't fact, then it's called opinion and it's not science.
Yeah, and I guess my question is, why are you trying to find something out? Is it, for example, if I wanted to know, let's say that I'm a scientist, at a very base level, I am a scientist. Very basic. I don't like to call myself a scientist. My degrees are in science or whatever. I never worked as a research scientist. I never did that. I'm just not that smart. I'm not smart enough to do it. I'm not patient enough to do it. But if I had a question, that's what science is, right? That's how we decide what we're going to research. We have a question. And we have to determine if there is a need for that question to be answered. So in other words, if you and I were in a research laboratory together and you said to me, hey, Beaveman, I really want to know, I really want to know why lizards are green the majority of the time, or why the majority were lizards green, just as an example. And I would say to you, is there enough of an interest in the scientific community for us to know the answer to that question if we don't already know the answer? Obviously, we already know the answer to that question, but I'm just saying I couldn't think of anything else. That's the first kind of step with the research, is determining, is there a need in the scientific community for us to answer this question?
Well, the whole sociology topic kind of falls into the no category, in my opinion. I hate sociology.
I think that now, if the listeners have not figured out that you hate sociology, they might have to go back. For the listeners who've only heard us the first time, Doc does not like sociology. So, but you understand what I'm talking about. You're kind of new to the you're kind of newer to this type of human sciences. This is kind of your first real foray into things. But you are going to have to do, if you decide you're going to get an advanced degree, you're going to have to do some research. You're going to have to do nursing research, basically. And it's the same thing. If I wanted to investigate something, one of the research topics I had was, okay, I want to know why we don't seem to have a protocol that relates to pediatric patients when they come in with a fever into the emergency department for this particular age range. In other words, we have run from, if they're from 0 to 60 days old, and then we have one from whatever, I think it was like 90 days to however old, or 2 years old or something like that. So my first research paper was on developing a protocol for that kind of that lost time frame. In order for me to decide I was going to do that research, I had to find out from other folks if there was an interest in me doing that type of research. Because even though it's a question of interest for me, I need to know if it's a scientific question that needs to be answered. Make sense?
Right.
So it's kind of boring. Anyway, the point is, here's the question. Now, this magazine that my sister-in-law gave me, let me give you a little background on my sister-in-law. She's a preacher's kid, okay? And when I was a young man, we used to call those PKs. Did you guys you guys do that?
No, I don't think there was a name for them.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what we call them. We call them PKs. Anyway, so she's a PK. Married my brother. Obviously, that's why she's my sister-in-law. This is not Alabama. And he's a Baptist minister. So she says, hey, I got you this magazine. Thought you would find it interesting while you're waiting on the subscription that you asked for to come. And the subscription I asked for was for a science magazine. So she gives me this one. It's got on the cover, it's got some sciencey looking stuff. And there's an article in here, and it's under their category. The category that they've given it is science in perspective, and the little subcategory is human genetics. So sounds good, right?
Right.
Okay, so here is the title of the article. Are some people born gay?
It's a really difficult subject, but I think no. I think it's not a genetic thing. I think it's either learned or chosen.
Okay, so now you've got very clearly stated. You've got your opinion on that, which is, I like that you clearly stated that. So can you go ahead and state that again for everybody? Not saying that you're wrong, because it's your opinion.
Right. I think that homosexuality is either learned or chosen.
Okay. So, and that's a pretty well, would you say, I wouldn't say accepted, but that's a pretty common belief.
Yeah.
Okay. I would say so too. I would say that, is there anything in particular that makes you think that way? Do you think it has a lot to do with your, like, the community that you were raised in, or how you were raised in your family, or any type of, like, your perception of your first exposure to, like, people who are homosexuals?
Well, I don't know if it's any one event or series of events. It's just the way I have come to know the world, I guess.
Okay.
It just makes more sense to me to look at it that way, and I have choices.
Okay. And do you think, because it's not like you and I are 18 years old, we're both we both tipped over the midpoint of 40, so we're both looking at it and going, okay, from my life experience, I know that the opinions I have now are not the opinions that I had when I was 20 years old.
Yeah, back then I barely knew that I was going to say that the Earth was flat, but or that the Earth was round. I totally screwed that up. I was
And the fact that it's hollow.
Funny,
and the fact that it's hollow.
work.
We weren't sure about that yet, but now we know it's definitely hollow. Yeah. You still haven't looked at that hollow Earth thing yet, have you?
Hollow Earth.
Yeah, you got to check. You got to check into that. That's hilarious.
No, I haven't looked at.
So anyway, but you know from your own personal experience not to be locked into any specific belief. I'm assuming because I've known you for a long time.
I try to stay open-minded.
Yeah, you're not ignorant. If you were presented with something alternative, you would at least consider
something factual
something
that I
more
knew
tangible.
was.
Exactly. Now, what we had talked about before also was, and this is a topic that we'll hit on this some other time. But right now, we're just talking specifically about gay people. But we had talked about before how you were like, well, you're born this way, and that's how you are. You're either male or female. And I said, well, no, there's genetic anomalies where you're not everybody's XX, not everybody's XY. There is part of chromosomes that are attached that can blur the lines a little bit. So that might have been a new thing for you, and you accepted that.
Yeah.
As an alternative. Okay. So, and I think that's good that you outright state your position. So, I can outright state my position with saying that I cannot definitively say one way or the other, but here's what I think. What I think is that there are folks that make that choice. I do believe that. And for whatever reason that choice is made, that's completely individualized, and I do support the decision for people to make that choice. It doesn't harm me in any way. Now, if something harmed me in some way, obviously that would change the scales or shift the balance or whatever, but it doesn't, so I don't really care. But I do think that I think that, in my opinion, is different, though. I think that's the exception. I think people who choose that are the exception. I think that most of the time it's actually people are born with that in their brain and their mindset. Now, does environment or how they're raised or their background or their social strata or whatever affect that? Like when they talk about, what is it, nature versus nurture, et cetera, does that come into play? I think it does for some people also. But it also doesn't explain.
I think that's a huge part of it.
But it also doesn't explain how the kind of the differing mindset on that is, well, if you're raised in a completely heterosexual family that is maybe religious and says that homosexuality is contrary to the Bible, et cetera, then how could you raise someone who's homosexual or who makes that decision early on in life? That's just another argument for it. But I can totally see where people might make that decision. You can always come up later and say, oh, well, it's about rebellion, it's about this, it's about that, it's about this, blah, blah, blah. But I think that it's part of the problem I have a problem with this article is because it's passing it off as science in a religious way.
When clearly they haven't done the scientific footwork. They don't have control groups. They don't have, usually anything to deal with sociology or even psychology in many cases, they don't have an actual control group, and that's huge. How can you do an experiment without a control group? And how do you define that? It's impossible. So it's a pointless thing to call an experiment and to come up with a definitive answer, which is what the point of science is supposed to do with anything other than, well, we don't know yet.
Right. Well, I think part of my problem...
They're wrong.
Yeah, and I think part of my problem is not so much are they trying to ask this question. My problem is what studies are they citing? What was the basis of the study? Was the study a high-tier research type study? Now, when I talked to you before, I said, hey, there's this little pyramid that we follow in nursing research, and they follow it in other research also. I said, but there's tiers of research. Remember me telling you that? Do you remember that when I said, hey, this is what's at the top, and it goes down to the bottom, where expert opinion is like the very bottom of the pyramid, and that's like the least thing that you would consider factual. Where at the top is where they do studies of studies.
Yeah. I think I remember hearing something about that.
So here's the thing: is with this article. One, the article itself it's 2 pages, and most of it is just it's an opinion is really what it is.
It's amazing that they got 2 pages out of that.
Well, it's just basically let's regurgitate some information. I'm just going to read a little bit of it here. So here's the first part of it. It says, many Christian parents have asked me this question. In other words, are some people born gay? The little subheading says, recent scientific studies claim that some people are born gay. Could this be? They are struggling with a child who has recently come out and are trying to grapple with this new reality. These parents have lovingly taught their children the Bible, or as I like to call it, the Bible. Taking them to church all their young lives and can't understand how their children could possibly choose this sinful sexual behavior. Can you believe that sentence?
For religious people, yes, but for people claiming to be scientists, no.
No. Okay, so they think biology may help explain why they are wrestling to explain any other way. So can it? And if biology can explain it, is homosexual behavior still sinful if God made them that way? Just that one paragraph is so inflammatory to me, not only as just a person who believes that people should make their own choices in life, but as a healthcare provider. I find that extremely upsetting. Mostly because
Well, it's a valid question. It depends on your answer.
Right. I agree with that too. It's just that the initial framing of it, can you imagine, and we both know what our sexuality is, obviously, but can you imagine if you were able to really, and you're going to have to do this, I think that's one of the biggest thing about being a healthcare provider is being able to put yourself in the shoes of others. Not being sympathetic. Sympathetic is one thing. Sympathetic is, I feel for you. I know you're going through this. This sucks. And being comforting to somebody. That's being sympathetic. Empathetic means where I'm actually putting myself in that person's position and trying to see their worldview and using that as my way of taking better care of somebody. So that's being empathetic.
Okay.
If I was, and I've been approached by this, I've had young children, I've had young adults, I've had older adults come to me and say, they're scared to come out, or they came out, and this was the backlash that they got from their family. Very much like this, where how could you choose this sinful behavior? We've done all these things. We've taken you to church, and we've taught you the Bible, and we've done all these things, and yet you still have decided that you're homosexual. One, you've already made this mistake with these children by your reaction. You've already made this mistake of you can't ever take that back. That was your reaction to what they've told you. You can't take it away, even if you mend your relationship.
Okay, let me tell you a story. There was a time when my parents found a condom in my wallet.
Well, you had that fucking ring around your wallet.
Yeah, well, and they, we were born and raised Catholic, and they had always pretty much told us that you shouldn't be having sex unless you're married. So when
I thought they were going to be mad that you were having sex with a condom. I thought they were going to be mad about the condom.
Well, they were.
No,
they were.
I mean because they don't believe in birth control.
What?
I said, I mean because they don't believe in birth control. They're like, listen here, buddy, you need to be going bareback. There ain't no condom use in this household. Don't be needlessly spilling your seed. Don't be spilling your seed.
My parents were all about, you shouldn't be having sex unless you're married. And finding the condom in my wallet, they kind of put 2 and 2 together, obviously, and assumed that I was having sex. I panicked when my mom confronted me about it. I was like, Mom, I was just holding on to it for a friend.
But again, she was like me and said, then why do you have this permanent ring in your wallet if you take it out?
But
You're
I
like,
did.
It's from a coin.
It wasn't
That's
in
from
my
a
wallet
coin.
for very long.
No, but you kept replacing them. If you do that, it's still gonna get that. It's still gonna get that outward appearance on it.
Dude, I was like 15 years old. There wasn't no replacing. I wasn't getting any.
Anyway,
But the point being,
you're like, see,
the point
Mom, it
being
expired a
is
long time ago. It's the same one. It's the same one.
This all of the same religious arguments that you were just making in regards to a person coming out to their parents about being gay would apply.
Well,
I was doing something that was contrary to what I was taught on a religious level.
but that wouldn't have kept you from heaven.
I don't know.
I mean,
Would
that's not like it's not like that. It's not a. I guess I would say it's not an uncommon thing that happened in the Bible. People didn't get married and have sex. They were having sex anyway. This is where we're talking about.
The point is that it's sin.
It's sinful,
And
but you
the
could
only way
easily
you can
ask
be
for
forgiven
forgiveness.
for your sins is to be sorry for it, to regret it, and to make effort to change and show contrition. So if you're looking at something and saying this is okay, so you don't need to be sorry, you'll never be forgiven for that sin.
Well, but I'd say that there is some similarities, but the big difference with that is that you could go ask for forgiveness and be forgiven. Whereas in the eyes of many people who are Christian, you can't ask for forgiveness for being homosexual.
If you're not sorry, you're not forgiven. You can ask for forgiveness. Hey, will you forgive me? Well, are you sorry? No. Then no.
Right, but the only difference...
Do you regret what you've done? Are you going to not do it again? Are you going to... You know what I mean?
Right, but if you felt sorry for that...
That's not how forgiveness works. You can't just say, oh, well, I'm gonna go out and shack up with whoever I want, and there are no consequences because I'll just be forgiven the next day. Problem solved. No, it doesn't work like that.
Right, but I'm saying if you decided that you were like, okay, I was sorry for it, and you asked forgiveness, and you are forgiven, that's fine. But if you, again, it comes back down to, is that wrong to be homosexual? In the eyes of many people who are Christian or whatever other religions that have a problem with homosexuality, if they consider that a sin, and they say, well, you're fine if you ask for forgiveness for it, people are not going to ask for forgiveness for it because they don't think they're doing anything wrong. That would be the big difference.
Right.
That's the big difference.
And that's where the problem, the big
Right.
dilemma.
In their eyes, they're not doing anything wrong. And in my eyes, they're not doing anything wrong either. My concern is passing shit off as science in this regard. Is what are you answering a question because you're interested scientifically? And if you are interested scientifically, is this something that you think that people would... Are you trying to look for a cure for something? Because this is something that's been going on since man walked the planet, as far as we can tell. And this is something that goes on with animals, other mammals. This goes on with, the avian species. This goes on with everything. There's homosexuality in every species that we've been able to determine so far. And there's asexuality. And there's, that have both, how do worms reproduce? They've got both sex organs, all kinds of crazy shit. So
go fuck yourself.
Yeah, so go fuck yourself. And they can. So the point is... My point is, what is your end game for answering this? Are you just trying to say, well, I'm trying to answer this question for all those parents out there who want an answer because what their child's doing wrong? And if you can find some biological answer to the question, does this mean that God forgives them because God created them that way? Okay, well, now again, you're mixing religion and science. And that's fine. You can do that. But what is the end game for asking the question and answering the question?
I wouldn't say God created them that way. I would say that God created a world that allowed them to be that way.
Right. But I mean, just strictly from a science perspective, what are you looking for to answer this question? So let's say that I did isolate. Let's just say something strange. So let's say that I was able to isolate some type of protein, hormone, something like that is different in a homosexual male than in a heterosexual male. And I'm able to isolate that protein and the receptor site, etc. And maybe I can figure out some way to make it so that person either doesn't excrete that protein anymore, or I can somehow give them something that blocks the receptor site so that they're no longer homosexual. That is something that, let's say that you could actually do that, and then now you are going to give this to the scientific community and say, okay, here's this option. Is it ethical for us even to offer this option to people who are homosexual if they're struggling with homosexuality and wanted to be heterosexual?
Well, if it's something they want.
Right, then a choice. So why is it okay for them to make that choice, but it's not okay for them to make the choice to be homosexual?
Well, it is still considered to be abnormal because the population that is actually homosexual is such a minority, like 2 or 3%, something like that.
It's got to be pretty low. The other thing is, and we're only basing that on people who are admitting that they're homosexual.
Yeah.
So I think that the question for me is, so let's say that we did that. Again, I think that part of the issue is if you removed religion from it, if you removed religion from the perceptions that people have, would homosexuality still be such a problem?
That's a good question.
I think that the only other...
Maybe not.
I think that is a huge part of it. I think that the only other argument that comes up for it, if you remove religion from the equation, would be the propagation of our species. Because, obviously, homosexuality is contrary to passing along our species. However, because there's such a tiny percentage of homosexuality that I don't think we have to worry about.
It's not an issue.
It's not an issue. It's a non-issue. So I think if you remove the question of religion, I think that that's still the biggest deterrent for folks to be recognized for homosexuality. And this article that just made me laugh reading through it and all their studies some of the studies are just, it's just ridiculous. To pass it off as science is just insane to me.
I think that the time frame of when you ask that question would matter. If we went back 2,000 years ago and we asked the same question, and let's say there was no religion involved, right? So what are some reasons why people might not or might look down upon those kinds of actions? Could diseases be an issue at that point? There are still certain diseases that are, that kind of go hand in hand with sodomy, for a lack of a better word for, calling it. But it's less of an issue now than it was then, because a lot of those diseases that you can pick up that way most of them are curable.
Well, and let's be honest, the majority of the diseases that we're talking about that are attributed to, when they talk about, one of the biggest ones they always talk about is because of men having sex with men. However, the issue isn't men having sex with men.
It's the fecal matter that's involved.
Well, it's not even that. The issue is, and the issue that it has always been, is for both sexes, regardless of what your sexual preference is or your sexual practices is, the issue is the same as it has always been. The issue is not being monogamous, not having protected intercourse. That's the issue it has always been. You can't spread disease if you are in a committed relationship. You can't spread disease if you're not going out and sticking your dick or having stuff stuck in your parts unprotected. You're so much less likely to spread disease. So that's the issue that it's always been. Regardless of whether it's people are having sex with each other or, men having sex with men, women having sex with women, men having sex with men and having sex with women. It's all about choices that they make. It's not like the men having sex with men The reason why it happened was because this guy had never had sex with somebody else, and this guy had never had sex with each other, and they just had sex with each other, and this new disease was born. That's not what happened. That's not how things happen. Things happen because people can't keep their private parts. They can't keep them just with one other person or whatever. They like to spread shit around. And it only takes you, who's had never... This is what we tell people, and this is what I've told people forever. I said, you know, it doesn't matter how many people you've had sex with. If you've never had sex with anybody, what matters now is not how many people you've had sex with, which is 0. What matters is how many people has the person that you are going to have sex with had sex with. And how many people has the people that they've had sex with had sex with. That's what matters. That's how disease gets spread. So it's not like disease is just born of these two guys who just started, you know, having sword fights with each other. That's not how it works. It's just, it's what I like to call dirty dick syndrome.
Yeah, well, it is a dirty subject.
But I really think that planning-wise, I think I'm going to have to get a subscription to this magazine now.
just to see what other kind of conversation material comes up.
Yeah, because I think that it's so silly, and the thing is, you and I both have that Catholic background, so we've been exposed to the madness. Yeah.
I find it offensive. I mean, for them to call themselves a scientific magazine, and then to say opinionated shit like that, stuff that they have clearly no actual evidence, and the conclusion is purely biased and agenda driven. I'm offended because that's not science, and to allow people to believe that it should be a crime.
Yeah, I mean, just, you know, not even reading the rest of the article, because there's just a couple of studies in here that are just completely inconclusive and show nothing, and they even point it out, but they still have to mention them. I don't like, why mention the study? It didn't prove anything, but, you know, the closing paragraphs here, and I mean, it's a religious magazine. Ever since Adam's rebellion, all of us are born sinners, Psalm 51:5, and all of us struggle with sin, but we must remember, no temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. God is faithful. That means that you've thought about dick before, Doc. That's not what it means. Let's see. God is faithful, and he will not let you be tempted beyond your ability, but with the temptation he will also provide the way of escape, and that you may be able to endure it. 1 Corinthians 10:13. So true hope for those struggling with homosexuality is found only in the gospel of Jesus Christ. So you're making a good point that it basically is passing it off as science. That's what I think.
And it's not.
No.
It's just not science. It's like sociology. They call it science, but it's not.
Well, now you're going to get some mad sociology people emailing us and saying, hey, look, motherfucker, I'm a sociologist. And, hey, I think sociology has its part. I don't know if you've been exposed to this or not yet, but there are... some people call different sciences what's called a hard science and a soft science. Have you heard that before?
Yeah, or social sciences, as they call it.
Well, where they do like the general categorization. Either you're a hard science or you're soft science. Boom, boom. One of the two. Which one are you? So, I don't know. I guess chemistry would be a hard science, and psychology would be a soft science. That's how I would say it.
Oh, okay. That works.
Yeah, so same thing. Sociology, soft science. Physics, hard science. You know, and there may be people who disagree, but that's kind of general conversation. I would even call medicine. I would even call
theoretical
medicine
physics.
Well, I would even call medicine like a soft science. I would even say that. I think that when you're talking about the very base things, when you're talking about how does the world work, how does that sort of thing, those are like the harder sciences in my opinion. I'm sure that people would say medicine's a hard science. Who knows, whatever. But then again, if you compare the two, I think nursing would probably want to be in the category of soft science. But I don't know how you could make medicine hard science and nursing soft science when they both are in there.
Because maybe nursing is just as much about the patient's comfort or feelings, to where the doctor side is more about just the medicine.
Yeah, which would give them a very bad...
The nurse is there to try and make the patient more comfortable.
Well, but that's what the doctor's
doctor
job
is there
is.
trying to cure.
Well, no, their job is that also. Their number one thing is do no harm, the Hippocratic Oath. So they're supposed to be in, they would be in the same category, is what I'm saying. So if you're going to call one hard, then they should both be hard or both be soft, because in my opinion, they're both soft. The science
I've
that
met a
they're
lot
based
of mean
on,
doctors.
the science that they're based on is hard. That's how I look at it. Anyway, the point is that's just kind of those two classifications. And I still think that's opinion based anyway. I mean, if you're gonna if you were to ask me what a hard science is, for example, I would say that medicine and nursing are soft sciences, but the science that they're based on are hard sciences. For example, physiology, anatomy, chemistry, biology, all those things. Those are hard sciences. So ours is a subset. It's not, medicine is not a base science. So I kind of look at it more like, okay, what is the base sciences that we're basing all of these other sciences off of? That's kind of how I look at it. I could be right. I could be wrong. I don't know. That's kind of just my opinion on it. So anyway, passing this off is what they're doing, in my opinion. They're passing off science. They're giving it a cute little title and trying to make this religious article sciencey.
Yeah, they're full of shit. And, the next episode they come out, they're going to try saying that the world is flat.
Right, or well, I don't know. Does it say in the Bible that the world is round? I wonder if there's anything.
I don't know.
You're a BIBLE person. We should do a little.
Sometimes.
I should look. I think that I'll have to look and see if I've got the Bible on my iPad. Because if I do, then I can do a search, like a search term.
Well, we can Google it.
Yeah, I think that would be funny. I'm sure that there's nothing on there that says that the Earth is flat, or hollow, or round, for that matter.
Okay, there's... I'm looking it up.
Again, so that would be all up to interpretation on... so if the Earth is hollow...
Oh! In the first line of Isaiah 40:22, it is He, God, who sits above the circle of the earth. Kind of implies that the earth is round.
Well, but a circle's not a ball. I mean, it's just a circle, right? So it's two-dimensional. So they could argue it either way, right? The flat earthers could say, if they looked at it...
Yeah, because a two-dimensional object can be a circle.
They could say it's circular, but not, not round or not a ball. So that sucks. We can't even use the Bible.
They're going on to say that clouds are hiding the place for him so that he cannot see. He walks on the vault of heaven. Clearly the word vault carries the sense that something is three-dimensional, given as the primary meaning. So circular and three-dimensional. Well, a quarter is three-dimensional, but still flat, not a sphere.
Right. God dang, that sucks. Okay, well, guess we'll have to tackle that one some other time.
Yeah, now I'm kind of hooked on reading this.
All right, so now you look at that then. You look at that, and the other thing I want you to try to look at is try to look at some hollow Earth shit and see what you think about that. And we'll talk about that. We're not going to say that we're going to talk about it for the next one because I don't want people to know what we talk about. By God, then they won't be interested. All right,
there was a movie that kind of looked at the Hollow Earth concept.
Oh, really? What's that?
Journey to the Center of the Earth. It's like there was a whole world down there.
Right.
Brendan Fraser.
Well, that's a remake. That's the book. That's is that a Jules Verne book though, right?
I think it is.
I think so. Okay. All right. Well, I think the remote podcast went okay. I don't know. I haven't played it back yet, so we'll have to give it a shot. So, our listeners out there, go ahead and email us and see what you think.
And of course, we will be able to tweak it a little bit. So hopefully, next time it'll go a little better.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to tweak it because it won't be much tweaking on my end because I am not technologically advanced in any way. But we'll give it a shot.
Well,
All
the
right.
channel that we're using right now has a codec quality of 6, and the channel I created for our next one has a quality of 10. So it's going to make for a bigger file when we record, but nobody cares about that on the other end.
Right.
So yeah, hopefully the next one will be better.
All right. Now, we'd like to thank our listeners. We had a day the other day where we actually had quite a few listeners, which was nice. It's always good to see on SoundCloud. So go ahead and give us a listen. Beaveman in the Dock. And this month, sometime, I will be releasing our new podcast, Beaveman and the Daughter. We were going to record it today, but then the daughter decided she was going to have a friend over. So, fuck, we didn't record it. But I will attempt to do it hopefully this weekend. Still don't have any music for the intro or outro, so guess I'm going to have to write that, or I'm going to jam on my guitar very horribly, and that's going to be the intro, and that's not going to be great. But, hey, you got to have an intro. All right, so as usual, give us an email. Go listen, share, like. It's beavemanthedoc@gmail.com. That's beavemandthedoc@gmail.com. Again, I did not make up the email. All right, so from me to you, Happy New Year. Don't eat dairy. I don't know.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
a
Christmas.
little late.
All those other holidays that we don't understand, etc., etc. Please don't be a fool. Wrap your tool.
Oh, you had to go there.
Yep, got to go there. If you've been carrying that same condom in your wallet forever, ladies, there's a guy with a condom ring on his wallet, don't have sex with him because this isn't 1986 or 91. So yeah, you'd be more responsible. All right, so as always, from the Beaveman, adios, smooch fuckos.
Crickets, bitches.